We'll call the City Council regular meeting to order for Monday, December 4th, 2023. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Hoyt.
Here.
Councilmember Bernatz. Here. Councilmember Lean.
Here.
Councilmember Porter. Here. Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Right. Unless there's any changes to the agenda, we'd look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Katie, second by Steve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on. Item number 6 is our citizen comments. If there's anyone in attendance wishing to speak at this time. If not, we'll move on to item 7, which is our consent agenda. We'd look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Holly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on, we'll move to item 8, which is our public hearings. The next item on the agenda is item 8.1, and this is a public hearing for the 2024 final tax levy and budget. I'd like to go ahead and open the public hearing at this time. And it's all yours.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, the 2024 proposed general fund budget and tax levy is being presented for your review and requested adoption. All the information presented tonight is pretty much the same as it was in September when you adopted the preliminary levy, with the exception of one change which will be addressed early on in the presentation. Just to review, the city's budget is developed over the course of several months. The budget process begins mid-year around May, and in September, the preliminary budget is adopted by council. When the preliminary tax levy is adopted, it sets the maximum tax levy. The final levy can be less, but not more than the preliminary levy. In November, property owners received a proposed tax statement from the county. The information printed on that statement is based on the preliminary tax levy that was set. Since setting the preliminary levy in September, staff has continued to review and update budgets. Tonight, the proposed final levy and budget are being presented for consideration by council. So, as I mentioned in the introduction, there's only one change in the budget from September, and that is additional funding has been secured by staff, allowing the tax levy to be reduced by $300,000. With the change, the proposed final net levy results in a 9.87 increase versus the preliminary 12.23% increase that was approved in September. As shown in the previous slide, the 2024 proposed final net levy is an increase of 9.87% from 2023 and is shown at the very bottom of this slide. The general fund expenditures increased 11.8% from 2023 for a total of approximately $18.9 million. The total budgeted general fund revenues for 2024 are nearly $4.7 million, which is a 23.5% increase from 2023. Fiscal disparities, which is a metro-wide program to balance the development of commercial and industrial growth, decreased almost 13% from 2023. So starting with the general fund expenditures, and then subtracting the general fund revenues and fiscal disparities, we arrive at the general operating levy of $12 million. In addition to the operating levy, then we add in the EDA levy and the debt levy to arrive at the total net tax levy of $14 million. In addition to tax levy and fiscal disparities, there are a variety of other revenue sources supporting the general operations. This slide provides a summary of those revenue categories budgeted in 2024 as compared to 2023. Revenues that are budgeted to increase include governmental revenue, charges for service, miscellaneous revenue, and transfers from other funds. License and permits and investment income are the two revenue categories that have been budgeted to decrease in 2024. The graph on this slide shows that property taxes provide the primary support for general fund operations. Property taxes account for about 75% of all general fund revenues. The next largest being transfers from other funds at 12% and approximately 4% each for intergovernmental revenues, charges for service, and license and permits. Miscellaneous revenues, fines and forfeits, and interest earnings making up less than 1% of the total revenues. Overall, general fund expenditures have been budgeted to increase 11.84%. With the exception of Dakota Broadband, which has been disbanded, all departmental budgets are proposed to increase. Later in the presentation, we'll review some of the major items that are included in these expenditure budgets. And that was basically information that has been provided for you in September. Here again is another graph similar to the one for general fund revenues, which shows general fund expenditures by source. The largest portion of the general fund operations, 42%, is budgeted for public safety, which is made up of both the police and fire departments. Public works, which is shown in green, includes engineering, street maintenance, and snow removal, and totals nearly 16% of the total budgeted expenditures. General government, which includes administration, city council, human resources, elections, communications, and finance, makes up almost 15% of the budget. Parks and Rec and transfers to other funds each total approximately 10% of the total general operating expenditures. And community development, which accounts for planning and zoning and building inspection activities, is nearly 8%. Priorities previously identified by City Council include quality business growth and retention, community engagement, infrastructure support, and employee engagement, culture, and wellness. The next few slides will highlight expenditures included in the budget that support these priorities. So this would be similar to what you saw in September. One of the council's priorities is quality business growth and retention. So included in the 2024 budget is levy of $150,000 specifically for economic development, along with enhanced programming to support current business and attract new business. Community engagement is another council priority. The proposed budget includes items to enhance programming to better communicate and engage with Farmington residents and businesses. A third priority of council is infrastructure support. The 2024 budget includes funding for maintenance of city streets, trails, sidewalks, and buildings. Also included are technology upgrades that will improve efficiency, and it includes the purchase of equipment for multiple departments and the management of EAB. The final priority of council is employee engagement, culture, and wellness. The 2024 budget includes improving pay plans to be more competitive, allowing the city to attract and retain talented staff, add a few new positions, 2 in public works, and a half-time grant writer, fund the rising costs of insurance for employees, and increased employee training. So in preparing for this presentation, I reviewed information on the Minnesota Department of Revenue's website, which indicated that the preliminary gross levies reported by all cities across Minnesota was an average of 8.4% increase from 2023. So all the cities in Minnesota. In September, Farmington had approved an 8.24%, so you're right in line with that average. And that was that percentage that was reported on the back of proposed property tax statements that were distributed by Dakota County. If approved as proposed this evening, the city's final gross levy would be reduced to 6.26% increase from 2023. Fiscal disparities is subtracted from the gross levy to arrive at the net levy, the amount of taxes that property owners ultimately pay. As a result of the 6.26 increase in the gross levy and a 12.86 decrease in the fiscal disparities that the city will receive in 2024, the increase to the net levy is 9.87%. As mentioned previously, this is in comparison to the preliminary net levy that was approved in September was 12.23%. The resulting proposed tax rate of all of this is 45%. As shown on the last slide, the proposed 2024 tax rate is 45%. In 2015, the tax rate was 61%. This indicates that the growth in property values exceeds the growth in property taxes. The percentage of city taxes being paid by property owners in comparison to the property values is less today than what it was in 2015. Information obtained from Dakota County Assessor's Office indicates that the average taxable market value of the 6,599 residential homestead properties in Farmington was $354,000 at the beginning of 2023. This is a 4.43% increase from the previous year. Based on the average residential homestead property previously valued at $339,000 with a 4.43% increase in value, the property now valued at $354,000 will see a $139 increase per year or $12 per month in the city portion of the property taxes based on the proposed final levy. This is in comparison to $173 that was adopted with a preliminary levy in September. This slide shows the various taxes paid by the owner of the average residential homestead property. Over the past 5 years, the proportion has remained pretty consistent, with the majority of property taxes, approximately 47%, going to the school district, followed by 35% to the city, 16% to Dakota County, and 2% to special districts. Just to note that the 2024 amounts on the slide for the other taxing authorities are, of course, just based on their preliminary levies, which could ultimately change if they lower their final levies as well. In addition to the general fund, which has been the primary focus of tonight's presentation, it's worth mentioning that the city maintains a number of other funds for which budgets are adopted, and those funds are listed here. Action that's being requested tonight is 1, to accept public input, if any, from property owners in attendance. Also to adopt the resolution setting the final levy to be collected in 2024 and to approve all budgets for 2024. This concludes the presentation for this evening, unless you have any questions for staff.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions? Steve?
No, Kim, I would just thank you for the nice presentation. I like that your presentation specifically tied in our council goals with how the budget aligns with that. And, I just want to compliment my peers on that piece of it. I think that's something we, and really the rest of the staff, spent a lot of time trying to do. It's not just setting a number, it's having a kind of a game plan or a strategy behind it. Am I super excited that the average increase is, still 9.87? I'm not. But I do appreciate the fact that we are doing, I think, really good things with that change. And we're also solving problems that have kind of been left untouched in the past that we're saying, yep, this is a priority, like the trees and getting that taken care of. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Katie?
I would echo my appreciation. Councilmember Wilson said it very well, that you tied in council priorities with the budget breakdown. And with that breakdown as well, just the different percentages that go to county versus school district versus city. I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand that aspect of the breakdown, as well as what is the average household? What does that look like monthly with your increase? Because I think we see that big number, we see the big increase as far as a percentage goes, but breaking that down monthly. And then I do also have to thank you for including the Minnesota Department of Revenue, the average for each city, because I actually looked at that chart myself just right before the meeting here, and was pleasantly, it's one of those bittersweet things, right? Pleasantly surprised to see that we are aligned with a lot of the other cities, but unfortunate, like Steve said, that it's at that percentage. So, but I very much appreciate the information you presented, and I think we've done our due diligence. So, thanks, Kim.
Thank you. Holly?
I don't have anything new to add, but great presentation. I think it provides an awesome synopsis of the work that's been done. A thank you to the department heads and all of the people that put in work to bring forth the numbers and the information that we need to get to where we are, so that we are operating with a full understanding of what's needed in order to provide the core services that our city expects. You know, we're residents too, and so it's not something that we arbitrarily put out without fully recognizing that we and our neighbors and our families are feeling the impact of this as well. But to the point that's already been made, I believe that these are dollars that are well invested in key people and things that need to happen in order to move the city forward.
Thank you. Nick?
I think you guys said it all already, but great presentation, and I believe, you know, this is spending a pen, or what are we doing? What's the phrase I'm looking for? I don't know. We're spending our pennies now to save our dollars later. That's what it was.
That's it.
Like I said, you guys have put a lot of good data in front of us, and I really appreciate that it's not just throwing money into the air, that you guys have throttled us with saying this is what we're capable of doing with this money and not asking for too much, because you know what your staff is capable of completing in the time with the money you're giving you. So not much heartburn on me from that perspective. So appreciate all the hard work.
Yeah, to come in when you did during the year, kind of take over for Chris and, you know, already have inherited a preliminary and then have to, you know, come in and get it all finalized. You know, first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for being able to come in and do it as quickly as you did, but as efficiently as you did. And also to have a clear understanding of where we want to go with it, what our intention was. Not just from council, but, you know, working together within the team to know how we wanted to properly allocate those dollars. There was one slide in there about the tax rate that, you know, just again to clarify is that, you know, at least in my 5 years, I've seen it continue to drop, even though there's been incremental increases in the valuations. That big drop last year that looked like a little bit of a tick up this year in tax rate, you know, we had a 19%, I think across Farmington, 19% increase in property values. And that wasn't as big this year. So, you know, sometimes you get involved in all the conversations throughout the year and you, I don't want to say you lose track, but you forget about what the net impact is. And, you know, you're following through as the best you can, but for some reason, like when we get to this point, I always have this like manifest in my head that it's so much bigger than it is, and it's not. It really is. It's a testament to tightening things where we can tighten them, being, you know, very diligent about the decisions that we're making, but also not putting off the work that needs to be done tomorrow to try and meet a percentage point. You know, and just that's commending my peers for saying it in January and February when we committed to our goals, going through all the work sessions, all the discussion, to our team bringing everything forward, bringing us the worst truth, having those hard conversations and being able to make a decision that ultimately puts a number that allows us to take care of the work that we've said we wanted to get done, but do it in a way that's palatable and not so over the top, overwhelming. So a huge thank you to everybody for that. This is a public hearing, so would be a time if residents want to speak on the tax levy. You're so inclined. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but it is a public hearing, so if you want to.
No, can I just talk from here?
Can we ask you to come up here? That way anyone that's sitting at home could hear your comment or question? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're good. You're good.
First of all, my name is Gladys Stuber. I've never done this before, and I'm nervous as can be, you can see.
Nobody's watching. You're okay.
I'm just curious about how you decide on who's going to pay what for taxes. Because as she had just said, for a medium house of $354,000, they're paying $1,600. My little house, I live in a townhouse in Charleswood, is supposedly estimated at $254,000, and I'm paying $30,000 or $3,000, and I'm trying to figure out why the discrepancy. That's a lot of money difference.
Can I answer that real quick? the line that she shows, we use a median valuation across the community to kind of give you a baseline. If your property is, we'll say 250, not 350, the number that we show in 1,500 is your city portion. So on the front page of your tax statement, it's gonna break it down into like 6 different lines. It'll have the district, Met Council, the county. The one that says municipality, City of Farmington, if you carry that all the way to the right, your number's probably in that 1,200 range, 1,250-ish. And if Kim can even point that out for you, can probably.
That's the city portion right there.
So what we're illustrating is that our levy only has control over the city's portion of your total taxes. So the school district does their thing, the county does theirs, Met Council does theirs. There's other lines that they all vote on and have authority for that line. The city of Farmington only controls that singular line. So you may see your city taxes go up a little bit, but depending on where your valuation is and or other taxing entities, the bottom line total payable could move either way. It could go up or down depending on kind of what everybody else does, if that makes sense.
So that explains it. Okay.
It's a
Just
great,
doesn't seem fair to a retired old lady, what can I say?
it's a great question, and it's one that we engage our peers not only at the district, but we talk to our commissioner at the county, and everybody tries to get an idea of where everyone's gonna be so that it's not a big surprise. We're all kind of working, because we're all working from the same pot, we'll say, right? We're all working from the same group of residents.
I found it interesting because I have a lot of friends that live in Apple Valley, and they said there's no way you can be paying that much in taxes when you live in that small townhouse. And I go, well, welcome to Farmington. Why I want to move. But anyway, okay, you at least explained it. Thank you. Thank you for letting me voice my frustrations.
No, thank you for the question.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
For coming, Gladys.
Absolutely.
You did great. You did.
All good. Again, it is a public hearing, so if there's anyone else that would like to speak? All right, seeing none, seeing no additional comment, then I will close the public hearing at this time. Is there any other comment, question, or deliberation by council? No. All right. Then I would look for a motion to adopt Resolution R76-23, approving the 2023 final tax levy and approving the 2024 budgets.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Steve, second by Nick. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Bernatz,
Yes.
Councilmember Lean,
Yes.
Councilmember Porter,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Hoyt.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. All right, the next item on our agenda is 8.2, which is the 2024 fee schedule. And again, this agenda item is a public hearing, so I'd like to go ahead and open the public hearing for the 2024 fee schedule at this time. And Shirley, this one's yours.
It's okay with you, I'll take it from right here. The fee schedule in your packet reflects changes proposed by management for 2024. Amendments include some fees for Rambling River Center, the arena, an increase for park development fees, some building permit fees, Public Works language clarification, and some rate increases. Police services, just some language clarifications. And then administration, some fees there for, like the peddler solicitor, we're removing the 6-month option, it's the 1-year option, and increasing that fee a little bit. Removing the dog license fee and gambling investigation fee. And staff is looking for your approval of the 2024 fee schedule.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Any questions? We'll go the other way. Nick?
No questions from me.
Holly?
No.
Katie?
So, I know that we have these answers in front of us, John, but just because the most notable, in my opinion, if I were not on the council and I didn't have the details, would be obviously the utility rates increase. I mean, my household probably about $25 extra per quarter, which it's enough that people will likely notice. So I was just gonna ask that you so kindly maybe break it down just a little bit, some of the requirements that we saw, and I apologize if this is redundant or if I'm putting you on the spot, but I do think it's important to break down for residents.
Mayor and council members, so as you may recall, we had a utility rate study completed earlier this year. It looked at a 10-year projection. So that utility rate study took into account our operating costs as well as the projects that we anticipate doing over that 10-year period. If we look at it in three primary areas, starting with the water fund, our water fund is in very good shape. The proposed increase for 2024, I believe 1% was recommended, and that's what's provided here. That reflects that the rates that we've charged in the past have kept up with costs, and we don't see any significant spikes. That does anticipate that we'll be doing significant water storage in the near future. The second area of increase was storm sewer rates, and that was 7 3/4, and that's reflecting part of that is the fact that the city is committed to undertaking surface water management maintenance projects each year for the 5-year CIP period. That's reflected in there, as well as any other operating and maintenance costs. The big one is the sanitary sewer, and that's going up. The percentages vary, but depending on the component, it goes anywhere from 15% up to about 23% increase. Please keep in mind that about 75 to 80% of our budget are fees to the Metropolitan Council for wastewater treatment. So that's the biggest share of our sanitary sewer budget. In the past, we have not been keeping up with their rate increases. So coming into 2023 and going into 2024, we're around 11 or 12% increase in our cost to the Met Council. We're revising our sanitary sewer rates upward in order to account for those increases that we expect to get from the Met Council. And that hasn't happened in the past, and that's why we see a significant jump in sanitary sewer going into 2024.
And then any note on the streetlight utility?
The streetlight utility was keeping pace, and so that increase, I didn't look. I think we had 3% in there. Just basically a slight inflation factor that was applied there. That was not included in the utility rate study, but we looked at how the revenue was balancing with our costs, and it was very close. But 3% allows us to anticipate account for any labor, utility, energy type increases. That's primarily what that is.
So is this respective to our two suppliers, being Dakota Electric and Excel Energy, or am I way off?
No, streetlight utility, we don't have an equal number of streetlights in DEA and XL.
Okay.
In fact, I think, to guess, I'd say most are in the XL area, but we looked at a macro level as to whether our revenue coming in through the streetlight utility was keeping up with our overall costs. Generally it was, so we applied just a very small inflation factor of 3%.
Okay. Thank you, John, I appreciate it.
Certainly.
Steve?
No comments?
No questions or comments? All right, I don't have any questions. Again, because this is a public hearing, if there are any residents in attendance that would like to speak on the matter, feel so inclined. All right, seeing none, then we will close the public hearing. Any other questions for our team or Shirley regarding the fee schedule? All right, seeing none then, I want to read the motion in its entirety. Then I would look for a motion to approve the 2024 fee schedule and pass ordinance 023-779 establishing charges and fees for licenses, permits, and other city approvals and services for calendar year 2024.
Motion.
Second?
Motion by Katie, second by Holly. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Lean,
Yes.
Councilmember Porter,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Hoyt,
Yes.
Councilmember Burnett.
Yes.
All right, our next agenda item is 8.3, which is the 2024 liquor license renewals. And this would be our last public hearing agenda item. So I'd like to go ahead and open the public hearing for the 2024 liquor license renewals at this time. Shirley?
So all required applications, fees, and insurance for the 2024 liquor license renewals have been received. All have been reviewed and approved by the police chief. Council approval is requested for renewal of the license as listed in your packet.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions? Nick, Holly,
I have none.
Katie, or Steve? All right, I don't have any questions for you. Again, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone in attendance that would like to speak on the matter. All right, seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. And if there's no additional questions or comments, then I would seek a motion to approve the listed liquor license renewals for 2024.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Holly, second by Steve. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Porter,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Hoyt,
Yes.
Councilmember Burnett,
Yes.
Councilmember Lean.
Yes.
All right. That concludes our public hearings. Moving on to new business. Our items here are in closed session, so I'd look for a motion to go to closed session to discuss the PFAS settlement.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Katie, second by Holly. All in favor, say aye.
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 Mayor, if you could read the specific Minnesota statute part that we have written out.
So the city council will enter into a closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute 13D.05, subdivision 3B, for a confidential attorney-client privilege discussion of potential PFAS litigation, AFFF multi-district litigation number 2873, including potential participation in the 3M and DuPont settlements. All right.